I'm excited to introduce Luisana Duarte Armenda riz. Luisana is an author and translator who grew up in the Juarez, Mexico, El Paso, Texas border, and she will soon be back in the region, teaching English at the University of Texas at El Paso. She'll also be earning her PhD in English from the University of Connecticut this August. She loves reading, spending time with her dog, Thalia, and beating her family at Chinese checkers. Luisana's first middle grade novel, Julieta and the Diamond Enigma, won our New Visions Award in 2018. If you have any questions throughout her presentation, please drop them into the chat and we'll make sure to cover them. So now I'll pass it over to Luisana to tell you more about Julieta's newest adventure.
Thank you, Stephanie. Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning if you are joining us from the West Coast. Thank you to Lee and Lo for inviting me today, and to Shaughnessy, Jennifer, and Stephanie for setting this up. My name is Luisana Duarte Armenda riz. I'm a Mexican dark-skinned woman with wavy brown hair, shoulder-length hair, and today I'm wearing a white blouse with black embroidery and glasses. And I have a teal background with the covers of my two Julieta books. The picture that you see here in the slide, in which I think I'm also wearing white, is me in front of Guanajuato's University, built in 1732 as the Hospicio de la Santísima Trinidad, a school for the children and the youth of Guanajuato. Now it's a university, and it is nicknamed the Beehive. Their mascot is a bee, and the students are called the Swarm when they go up these steps. For those of you who are not that familiar with Mexican geography, Guanajuato is a town in the state with the same name in central Mexico. And this is where Julieta's second adventure takes place. But first, a tiny bit about myself. So if we can go to the next slide, please. That's me, maybe around 3 or 4 years old, post-Christmas dinner, saying thank you, God, for the lovely dinner, but also being silly while posing for the camera. And while I'm sure I enjoyed that dinner and eat all kinds of foods now, I've never had an oyster. Just thinking about them gives me the creeps. I don't know if this is because I grew up in the desert in Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua, Mexico, right across the border from El Paso, Texas. For those familiar with Boston, Juarez and El Paso are as close as Boston and Cambridge, except our river has no water. Again, we live in the desert. And one other fact about me is that I have a synesthesia where my mouth waters looking at certain colors or some textures even. So it's really fun to go to the museum with me. Right now, as Stephanie mentioned, I am about to finish my PhD in English at the University of Connecticut, so go Huskies. And we'll be moving back to El Paso to teach at the University of Texas at El Paso, go Miners. But it has taken me a long time to get here. I've had all kinds of jobs. I've been a photographer, a sandwich maker, an edible arrangements arranger. I've been an extra on a TV show. Catch me in episode 5 of Defending Jacob. I've taught visual arts. I've done web development. I was a Catholic missionary in the Philippines, but I've always been a writer. If we can go to the next slide, please. When I was 8, I had a family newspaper and was a reporter, editor, publisher, and distributor. And this was pre-newsletter services. So printing and snail mail got a bit expensive after a while. And as they say in Spanish, la cabra tira al monte, or the goat always heads for the hills, meaning I can't deny what I've always been. I've always been a writer, even though, like I said, it took some time to get here. Next slide, please. And now I have my second novel, Julieta and the Cryptic Rose, coming out September 15th. Julieta Leal Romero is a 10-year-old Mexican-American girl who lives in Boston with her parents. She loves mythology and art. Her parents both work at the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. Her dad, Manuel, is an art handler and took Julieta to France in her first adventure, Julieta and the Diamond Enigma. And her mom, Erica, restores art. And this is partly what brings the Leal Romero clan to Guanajuato. Next slide, please. So like I said, this is a dual purpose trip for the family. The Leal Romeros go to Mexico to bring Julieta's 3-month-old baby brother to visit family in Erica's hometown, while she'll be working on some water damaged pieces for the Casa Museo Diego Rivera, which is pictured here. The house has since been turned in the museum, but saw the Mexican muralist Diego Rivera, also pictured here, coming to the world. but there have been some confounding events that keep resulting in one or two paintings being damaged. So Julieta is excited about spending 3 months in Guanajuato with her family, living in Tita Queta's house. That's her grandmother. Being here means there's more freedom and responsibility for Julieta as she hangs out with her triplet 8-year-old cousins, Maria Andres, Elisa, and Sofia, which have been affectionately named by Erika, the mess, and Camila, her older cousin. Julieta is also learning how to play an instrument, the clarinet. She's getting to hang out at a new museum, but she's also doing some homeschooling and suffering through fractions. She's been having a hard time with fractions. But one thing that she is really excited about learning is Diego Rivera. If we can go to the next slide, please. Diego Rivera, if you know or if you don't know, was a prolific muralist in Mexico. He was born in 1906. He was married to Frida Kahlo, who I think is the most well-known Mexican painter here in the US. Diego painted mostly to capture the essence, struggles, and joys of the Mexican people. And the Museo Casa Diego Rivera now houses a large collection of his paintings. Julieta, of course, is captivated by his art, but is worried that if more paintings get damaged, this means her mom will have to stay and work for a longer period of time and potentially will have to stay in Guanajuato instead of going back to Boston. Can we get the next slide, please? And even though Guanajuato is a beautiful city with a vibrant history and colorful present, Julieta is anxious and does want to return back to her life and friends in Boston. But while she's in Guanajuato, she takes advantage and runs a bit wild, perhaps, with her cousins around the city, doing some touristy stuff. I really love writing Guanajuato into this story. I remember visiting the city on a family trip when I was little. So bringing readers to this amazing city has been a really cool experience. Plus, getting to visit while I was doing research for the story brought back a lot of memories for me. Like I mentioned, it's an amazing city with a mysterious vibe to it. The name Guanajuato actually comes from the Purepecha word for hill of frogs. The hill is pictured here, I guess. So I even learned, so Julieta could also learn how to make little origami frogs, which you might be able to see that I'm holding right now up to the camera. Back to the town, Guanajuato was built as a silver mining town, and it is a really old town, especially by American continent standards. There's a lot of folk legends and ghosts. Guanajuato also has a version of Romeo and Juliet star-crossed lovers that meet across an alleyway, and a version of La Llorona also inhabits those streets. There's even a mummy museum with locally grown mummies, not Egyptian mummies. And there's a bunch of tunnels and thousands of alleyways. If we can go to the next slide, please. These are, as you see pictured here, there's some alleyways, and maybe I think there's one of those is the tunnel. In the first two pictures on the top left corner, you can see the Callejón de los Changos, or the monkey alleyway. It's a tiny alleyway with stairs going up about 2 or 3 floors. You can see my shoes as I'm standing at the bottom. There's barely any room for one person to go up. So Julieta, of course, has to go up and romp around with her cousins. The town in Julieta and the Cryptic Rose really becomes a character in and of itself. The enigmas around it, its embeddedness in Mexican history, and the family outings that Julieta partakes in allowed me to build a world which she could explore, decode, and protect, all while eating delicious Mexican food and tres leches cake. My family previously secret tres leches cake is included in the book. If we can go to the next slide, please. And just like the introduction to this book, the story has a Spanish glossary of phrases used throughout. It has embedded information about a variety of cultural items throughout the story, like traditions and more detailed information about the art and descriptions in the back matter. So I invite you to join Julieta and her family in Guanajuato, spend some time there, enjoy the views, and save some art.